Hello and welcome to another edition of Common Sense Golf with Carey Hodsden PGA at X-Golf Chesapeake in the lovely Chesapeake, Virginia. Today I want to talk to you guys about, I know that we talk a lot about Ben Hogan type stuff and really more, not just Ben Hogan, but more of the classic golf swing, which is kind of more around your body versus more up and down. What I call the modern golf swing is more of what I call an arm lift golf swing, and a classical golf swing is of course more around. Now we've talked about that a lot in past lessons. What I really want to talk to you today about is how your right elbow works. Now we've talked in other lessons about how we kind of try to get our right elbow in front of us a little bit so that we can release the golf club properly. I think a lot of that gets lost in when I tell people, I want you to feel like your right elbow is getting in front of your sternum. I think a lot of that gets lost, and people think that they can actually physically get their right elbow in front of their sternum as they're swinging and rotating, which is basically impossible. Okay, but I want you to feel like it. That's the whole point of it. I want you to feel like you're kind of trying to shove this right elbow in front of you, and I want to take this kind of to the next level, because I think people have a misunderstanding of how to connect to your body. Okay, the first thing is Hogan and Snead and all these other guys, contrary to popular belief, they didn't keep their elbows pinned to their side the entire golf swing. If you do that, if you do keep your elbows pinned to your side, first of all, I apologize for the microphone today. I seem to have lost my microphone, so I'm looking for another one right now. So you're going to hear the sound through my recording device, and I apologize for it not being as loud. Just crank up the volume so you can hear all this stuff, okay? So, look, when we're going around, if we try to keep our right elbow completely attached to our side, we're going to go way inside, okay? If you do not let it get away from your body at all. It also creates a situation where it's going to be difficult to drop back in to get kind of into the area around your waist that I call the slot, okay? Now, I could go back and forth with all these different lessons, but I implore you to go and watch the lesson about the slot, and go and watch lessons about sequence and then getting our elbow in front of us and all those types of things. I think it's super, super important that you kind of get an idea of where I'm coming from. All of these lessons work together, okay? Nothing contradicts each other. Everything works together. So, when I'm giving you one piece here, please understand that there are, multiple other pieces in all the other lessons that I want you to go and look at, okay? So, it's really, really important to understand a couple of things. Basically, what I'm teaching is a baseball swing, okay? I'm teaching a bent over baseball swing. Now, how does a baseball swing work? This is going to get us into how the right elbow works, okay? So, when a baseball player is lining up, they get up here and they have what I call soft arms, okay, here, and they set up to hit the baseball. They step into the ball when the pitch is coming. They rotate their hips and their upper body, and as they do that, watch what happens when they rotate their hips and their upper body, okay? Watch what happens to the club. The club drops behind me like this, okay? And then they hit out in front of them, catching the ball out in front of their body. So it's a drop and release. Drop and release. And when I say release, I don't mean like release your hands. I mean like drop. We're here, we drop. Let me do this, start from the beginning. We're here, we step, we rotate, and as we rotate, we drop, okay? And then we release by continuing to rotate our body through the impact area all the way through, eventually to get something like this, okay? Which is basically an upright golf swing, okay? So we need to create that same feeling in the golf swing. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of quick review here. Remember, you can see how my hands are on the golf club here, just like a good solid normal grip here. Slightly neutral on the left hand, a little bit weaker almost on the right hand, okay? And the grip pressure in the last 3 fingers of my left hand and the middle 2 fingers of my right hand, which is how Hogan looked at it, okay? All right, so I've got what I've called nice soft arms here again, and what I'm going to do is show you that your knuckles, which we've talked about in other lessons, okay, these knuckles here on the golf club are what you're going to be swinging at the ball, because that's what a baseball player does, all right? So they start off this way, they step, they rotate, they throw their knuckles at the level of the ball. If the ball is down here, their knuckles are down here, if it's a low pitch. If the pitch is in the strike zone, excuse me, then their knuckles are kind of in the middle. If the pitch is high, then their knuckles are high, okay? For us, the golf ball is on the ground. So where are your knuckles gonna go? They're gonna go towards the ground, okay, where the golf ball is. So our knuckles are gonna go kind of towards the ground down here. Now, how do we get there? That's the big question. So I'm gonna show you down the line here, kind of what this looks like. So I'm a baseball player here, okay? And I step in, I start rotating, and as I rotate, watch what happens to the club. Okay? So I rotate and then swing the club out in front of me by rotating my shoulders and my hips through. This same move is what we're looking for in the golf swing. Now, what they call it on television and other swing teachers might call it, they're going to call it shallowing the club. Okay? I think it's an interesting concept to think about shallowing the club, or shallowing the bat, or shallowing whatever it is that you're swinging. But I almost feel like it gets into your head that you need to be kind of back behind the golf swing and worried about shallowing and that type of thing. I don't want you thinking about any of that stuff, okay? I want you thinking about going forward, swinging forward. I need you to move forward through every single swing and don't stop. Swing forward and accelerate all the way through the end of your golf swing, just like a baseball player does, okay? I'm not talking about a contact hitter, I'm talking about a home run hitter. You want to swing full, okay? Like a Babe Ruth or you know, Hank Aaron or I don't know if you saw the movie The Natural with Robert Redford, which was tremendous. He actually has a tremendous baseball swing, left-handed baseball swing, but swung full all the way through. It doesn't have to be hard. It needs to be full, and it needs to continue to accelerate all the way to the end. Okay? So when we're talking about a baseball player, they step, they rotate, this drops the head, okay, and onto a plane where they can hit the ball, okay, and then they swing through all the way through the golf swing, or the baseball swing, until they can't go any farther, and they accelerate all the way through to that point. Okay, so what you need to understand is this same feeling of stepping and rotating. As we start to rotate our hips, this is the same thing as in a golf swing when we're not stepping, but we're over here on our right side. We shift our weight to our left side, our left heel, our left butt cheek, okay? I want your left butt cheek moving back so that you can simulate that feeling of a baseball player, okay? So I've taken my club back here, okay, and I'm going to show you how we do that with the elbow without it being so stuck to our side here in just a second. But I take my club back here, get into my right side, okay, so I can almost lift my foot off here. So I'm into my right knee here, okay. I'm moving myself back into the left, and as I do that, watch what happens. I move myself back into the left, back into the left, back into the left. Watch the club, back into the left. So I go back up here, back into the left. Okay, so what's happening is as I move my butt back this way and rotate my hips, it's the same as stepping into the ball and rotating our hips. Okay, instead we're moving our weight back into the left so that we can rotate our hips, and that's dropping the club into an area where we then can hit through the golf ball into this area and swing all the way through to the end. Okay? So I'm going to do this down the line so you can see that as well and kind of see what it looks like, so you can really get a feel for the angles and how the angles work. This isn't about shallowing the club. It's about getting it on the plane that allows you to swing through the ball, okay, without manipulating the head, okay, squarely, and in a way where you can just swing through it and let it go, okay? So you got to remember, the baseball bat is a bat, and you got this entire long barrel that you can hit the ball on. Here, with the golf swing, which I've showed you before, you've got a 1-inch circle. I don't know if you guys can see that circle on my golf club where I've kind of worn it out. You've got a 1-inch circle. Do you know what the size of that is? That's the size of a hammerhead or a quarter, okay? You got to hit it on the center of that, but you're not using a 12 or 14-inch hammer. You're using a 3-foot stick with a paddle on the end of it, okay? So you got to stay still. You got to stay focused. You got to look at the golf ball when you're trying to swing through this thing. I mean, super, super important. Can you imagine taking a 3-foot hammer, with a hammerhead on the end, and trying to pound a nail in 3 feet away from you? How hard would that be? That'd be impossible. I mean, it would seem like it'd be impossible. You probably could do it after a lot of practice, just like golf, Instead, you've got this long paddle, so you can kind of mishit it all over the face. But really, what you're trying to do is you're trying to hit it in the same width as this round circle right here, which is literally the width of a hammerhead. Okay, that's why I always equate the golf club to a tool. That's why I always equate it to a hammer, because to me that's what it is. It's a long hammer on the end of kind of a floppy shaft, that allows us to compress this little golf ball or nail, and shoot it, downrange. So, get that in your head, okay? Understand that that's what you're really doing, okay? So now, that's why these mechanics are so important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you now how to take the club back in such a way to where you're not so bound up on your right side, and you can get this elbow in the position you need to get it into on the way through, okay? So what we're doing here is we're setting up, and you've seen Hogan set up and Snead and all these guys, but Hogan kind of set up with his hands in the middle, which I really, really like, okay? So we're kind of set up with our hands in the middle. We've got soft arms here. See how my arms are soft, okay? We're gonna move this soft arm complex together, okay, back here, and see how my right elbow is not really attached to my side at this point? You can see how I'm moving around my body. I'm turning my body and I'm moving around. We're keeping the butt end of the club pointed at my belly button when we first go. So we go here, okay? And from right here, this is where we're doing our wrist set with these 2 fingers of your right hand, the middle 2 fingers of your right hand, and the last 3 fingers of your left hand, which creates that cup that Hogan had, right here. Even Snead had it. I mean, the way they took the club up, Bobby Jones, they were all the same. Okay, so we're soft with our arms. We get this up here. Now what happens when I take my elbow back? You can see that my elbow is separated from my body here a little bit, but when I wrist set, the elbow moves inward toward my body. So I go here, I wrist set, the elbow is inward toward my body. Then when I do my weight shift from here, okay, that's when the club even falls more back in this way, okay, essentially. I mean, a lot of guys are trying to manipulate that move from coming up here with the modern swing and then dropping it, okay, and making it fall backwards, which is a long period of time for that to work, which is why I don't like the modern swing with this type of technique very well. I really like a classical golf swing that goes around your body a little bit more with this type of technique. Okay, so we're turning, we're keeping this complex. Our elbows do get away from us just a little bit, but as soon as the wrist set happens, this elbow moves into our body, okay, and allows our left arm to extend, but it's still soft here. I still feel the weight of the club in my hands, okay, and then once it gets up here, I shift, as it's on its way up, I shift my weight, which drops it back in. You can see how high my hands are here, but look where my elbow is. It's moving right down to my belt, right at my hip pointer right here, okay? This is where you want your elbow to go. So we're soft here, so we're a little bit away. Then once we do the wrist set, my elbow drops into here, okay? And this is where we start our rotation forward, where our legs and our hips, just like a baseball swing, go first, and they pull me through, and I stay on my concentric circle here, around, okay, in this angled circle, right? I move forward, my club drops in, my elbow drops in, and this is when I'm trying to accelerate my elbow From here, I move to the left, it drops in. This is where I'm trying to accelerate my elbow and my right forearm. See my elbow and my right forearm here? I'm trying to accelerate them as I'm rotating through the golf swing to get maximum extension. This is the thing that Bryson found out recently, not too long ago, a couple of years ago, when he was fiddling around on the range, 4 years ago I think now, when he started making the huge change in his golf swing to hit the ball farther. He realized that you need to continue to accelerate this forearm. And you not only need to continue to accelerate it with your elbow, you accelerate it never-endingly to the end of the golf swing. You never stop the acceleration. Okay, why? If you go through here and you get into these good positions, and now you're right here, and you stop accelerating this elbow here forward, if you stop accelerating it forward, what's going to happen is this. You're going to stop, your hands are going to release, your elbow is going to get stuck back here, and then you're going to finish it kind of in this way, and you're not going to get, you're basically short arming it. You're not going to get the power and the accuracy that you need to get, or the spin. So it's really, really important that this complex moves, once it starts down and your hands get almost into the slot here, you need to move this elbow with your rotation. I mean, I would move it as fast as you physically can, all the way through the impact area and all the way through the finish. That's what I would do. I would practice that. And then I would slow the entire thing down on the range with like wedges and 9-irons and 7-irons. And I would get used to the feeling of getting in here, moving back into the left here, and then your club dropping, your elbow dropping into your right belt, the point of your elbow going into your right hip pointer here, right at your belt, okay? And then once it gets in here, this is where you're going to accelerate all the way through the golf swing. That's going to give you that massive extension on the lead side as you're going through, and then that's going to give you the most power and the most accuracy you can get. Look, I can get into all kinds of geometry here, and eventually I will. I'm going to do some other types of videos where it's not where I'm just sitting here talking or even demonstrating hitting golf balls or whatever have you. It's going to be more where I'm taking videos from other sources and kind of compiling them and putting them together and drawing and putting some different ideas together to really give you a good concept of the geometry and how the geometry works. There are a few people out there that do a nice job of that. Like I said, I've told you before that Christopher Hudson of Polygon Golf, he kind of bases everything around Hogan and geometry, which I think is fantastic because he's right about most everything he says. And I really, really like where he's going with it. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to build upon what Hogan, Chris, and many, many others, Sam Snead and Bobby Jones and many, many other teachers have done over the years. And I'm trying to build in feel to you. I want you to feel what you need to feel to get where you need to get to be able to execute this golf swing the way you want to, okay? Once you learn how, you can't miss the golf ball, okay? You're gonna hit it dead square every single time, okay? All you need to do is you need to get these fundamentals in place and understand the sequence, and then you're gonna be good to go. All right, so what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to show you a couple little short versions of this so that you can kind of see. I'm gonna do it first of all with a little lob wedge, and I'm gonna ask that you practice this drill with a little lob wedge so you can get the feel for it, okay? And then I'll try to hit a 7-iron for you so you can get even more feel with it, okay? So here's a lob wedge that we're gonna do. And remember, we're starting with our normal setup where we're kind of kicked in a little bit, our arms are soft, and we're moving this complex together on the way back, right? So we move the complex together, we get it to right here, and as we're getting it to the wrist set, okay, then I'm moving forward, and the club is, as I move forward, the club lays off like a baseball player like this, okay, to where you can get it on a plane to where it's going to work for you to bring the club into the golf ball. Most guys go over the plane, most guys and gals go over the plane. Very few of you will come inside the plane. I'd rather see you be coming inside the plane, a little bit easier to correct, but the over the plane thing is pretty difficult. So really, really watch what we're doing here and try to get this in your head, okay? The easiest way is get up here, take a couple of swings, step, feel like you're in a baseball. Watch what happens with this as you try to go through with your baseball swing. Then take a practice golf swing, try to get it up the same way, okay? And then feel like you're doing the same thing with your golf swing. And then you need to, this is like a huge key, okay? Once you do this here, and you drop it in here, like your weight goes back into the left, and you drop this thing in here, once this gets in this position, this is where everyone gets stuck. This is where everybody says, oh, this is never gonna work. This is what happened with all the people that tried to learn when Hogan's Life magazine thing came out, you know, they were so worried about the cup and the wrist, they didn't even understand what was happening or why he was doing that. They had no clue, okay? So then they go here, they drop it in, and they go to hit it, but they don't accelerate, they don't continue to accelerate this entire complex right here through as they're rotating, okay? And that causes here, they rotate and they keep it here, they know that they're gonna hit the ball right, so then they flip, okay? And you got shanks, you got all kinds of problems after that, okay? So we don't wanna do that. Super important, once you change your weight, you make your weight shift or your recenter or your rebalance or whatever you wanna call it, back to the left side, so we're on our right side, the inside of our right side, we can almost pick our foot up here, right? And then we shift back into the left, into our left butt cheek, and I showed you a drill with a stool with that. Once we get here, this is when we have to accelerate underneath with this forearm, this hand, but not like this. We're accelerating around and accelerating this forearm as fast as it can go, okay? And when I say forearm, I don't mean like this. I mean the entire complex together, accelerating with our rotation. If you don't accelerate this with the rotation, then you're going to get your rotation this way. Your your arm is going to fall behind. You're hitting the ball to the right almost 100% of the time from here, or you're going to chunk it, or you're going to shank it. Okay? So this has to stay with this core. All right? So we're going to set ourselves up, a little bit of a wedge. I want you to take a real narrow stance here. You can choke the wedge up, you can keep the wedge all the way at the end of the grip, however you want to do it, okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to keep this complex, we're going to turn the complex together, just like this, okay? See how my arms just kind of stay where they are, nice and soft. Then we're going to wrist set right here, that's it, that's the whole swing, that's it, okay? And then from right here, we're going to sit back into the left, and our club will go more into this, what you might call a laid off position from here, okay? Then we're going to accelerate everything to the left and around our body this way, especially this arm, right? We're accelerating it in front of us, but we're not releasing our wrists. We're just hanging on for dear life and rotating, okay? So let's try this here. We're gonna go here, here, and then we're going to set the wrist here. Then we're gonna move to the left, and you can see how it kind of shells out, okay? And then we're gonna accelerate everything through, okay? Here we go. Okay, so you can kind of see how it gives the illusion that everything's going through together and finishing together. It's really, really a nice feel, okay? So I'm gonna do it one more time here with a 7-iron to try to get the feel of that, okay? And then we're gonna call it a day for this particular understanding. And once again, don't forget, you can call me, I can do video lessons with you online and that type of thing. Or just write me or leave comments on YouTube. Tell me what you think. You know, some guys don't agree with some of this stuff. Some guys agree with a lot of it. Some guys think, you're trying to piggyback off of what Hogan did. No, I'm trying to explain what Hogan did. Almost nobody gets it, okay? They just don't get it. But I'm telling you, this is how it works. This is how his swing worked. And this is what he figured out. Now, he went way down the rabbit hole, okay? And unfortunately, so have I. But I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to the world. I'm going to show you exactly how he did it, and you're going to love it. Once you learn how to do it, you cannot believe how well you can hit it. I mean, you can be so unbelievably consistent. All right, so we're going to do this one more time. I've got a little bit of 7-iron here. I'm not going to swing hard. Just want to show you the move. Okay, so we're here. We've got our nice soft arms here. Okay, I'm going here. We're going to wrist set. That's the swing right here. Okay, I'm into my right leg. I can almost lift up my foot here. Okay. Now I'm going to sit back, so I'm going up here, wrist set, I'm going to sit back, and this thing, as I sit back and to the left, my club drops into this hitting plane, we're going to call it, okay, and my hands get into the slot around my waist where I want them to be, and then I'm going to accelerate my right forearm, the back of my left hand, and my right wrist. I'm going to accelerate these things through the impact area and around to the left. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go here. We're going to set it, and then we're going to go to our left, and then we're going to accelerate everything through here. And here we go. Okay, and once again, it gives you the illusion that everything's going through together. Now, wasn't hit perfectly, but it gives you the idea of what we're trying to get at here. Okay, so this is about how this elbow works and where it's supposed to go and how it's supposed to go. It does not have to stay connected the whole time right from the beginning. It can move away, but once you wrist set, it's going to come back into your body like that, okay? And then as you switch directions and move your weight over to your left side, it's going to, you have to accelerate this forearm through the impact area. If you don't, that's going to be the downfall of what you're trying to do with that golf swing. I'm Carey Hodsden, PGA. I want to thank you for watching. Remember, hit them long and straight, and I'm going to see you very, very soon with a lot more information. Talk to you soon.